Awesome! So you guys are going through the gym wrong content, which is awesome. You might be watching this before this, might be watching this after this, but either way, definitely make sure that you go through because it's so game changing. One concept gym focuses so much on is a concept from The Richest Man in Babylon, which is just a game changer. It's the idea of like putting away 10% of your money, 10% of your wealth. And while that's nice, and like 10%, okay, yeah, 10%, that kind of leaves the other 90% up to chance. It doesn't really show you like what to actually do. And as you guys know, like the more that you invest now, the more growth you're gonna have and the more success, the more wealth you'll have later, right? Just fundamental concept of compounding growth, right? Pretty basic stuff. And so the goal here is really to clarify and explain exactly how to budget. Because so many people, they struggle with like budgeting and they're like, oh, I don't want a budget. I think that's like a bogus excuse. But it's okay because today we're gonna figure out the exact percentages and the way to do it and how to have the huge success that you want in your life by following very, very simple, actionable, step-by-step plans, which is super cool. So that's the whole goal of this class today. So let's go over to the computer and let's make it happen. So most people, you're in like kind of one of three places. And the first place is you have no income and you have no expenses. So this might be maybe you're like a student or you're a kid or whatever, and you live with your parents or something, and so like you have no income because you don't work because you're at school and school doesn't make you any money usually, and you have no expenses. And so that's kind of this first situation. The second situation is you have income, but you have no expenses. So this might be where I was for a while, where like I was working or I have businesses or I was trading, and I was like still a student and I was still living with my parents and they were like paying for food and like housing, but I had like income, right? And so this is like the dream where you just don't have to pay for anything ever. But obviously you gotta grow up, right? And that's where probably the vast majority of the people watching this are. So you have income and you have expenses, right? Pretty basic stuff, to live in the world. You need to have like, just money makes the world go round, right? This exchange of value. It's a capitalist system. And so this is where like our focus is gonna be, and this is where the whole budgeting system and this whole formula that I like went to this huge seminar for was super, super cool, and we'll talk about it soon in just a moment. For the vast majority of people is this budgeting system. But real quick, I want to cover these two situations here because there are some mentalities, and I see a lot of kids like they go and they get their first job, or they're like living with their parents and they have like maybe an allowance or some crap, which I think is bogus. Like you should work for money. If you're working for allowance, that's great. Like you're working, you're doing your work, or maybe you're like mowing lawns or something like that. So you have income with no expenses, or maybe you have no income. I want to cover these two situations really, really quick so that you guys can, like if you're in these two situations, you can like have the biggest impact with yourself and with your growth and with your future wealth, savings, retirements, or whatever. And if you're not in these two groups, maybe you can take this knowledge and apply it, one day when you have kids in a long time, or if you need to give help to somebody and they're in these situations. It's a very, very powerful ideology and some underlying principles that you'll start to be able to apply to your own success no matter where you are. So the first place comes where you have no income and no expenses. And so like maybe you have a bank account, but the bank account, it is, it does not have any money whatsoever. Maybe it has a little bit of money from your family or crap like that. But basically, you've got no income, you got no expenses. If you have like any money in the bank account, if you have any wealth at this point, the goal is, at this first point, is to start applying what we're gonna learn through this membership area and what you'll learn in 9 to noon on how to like grow your wealth. And just like at the core, when your money's in the bank, usually you're not gonna make a whole lot. Maybe you'll make like what, 2 or 3%, like tops. And so the goal at the beginning is to just learn about assets and then start investing, right? And we'll get to that over time, which is super, super cool. And we'll cover like bank accounts and crap like that. But at the beginning, like if you have money but maybe you don't have income, like make sure your money isn't just sitting in the bank. Make sure it's actually invested in like anything that will give you a sizable, decent return over time in the long run. Because like, even if you have plans to spend it on college or whatever, like it's gonna be worth more if you invest it. And especially if you're not doing anything with it, you wanna make sure that like your cash is invest in something that's going to grow its value over time and allow you to grow and grow and grow and compound it if you're not doing anything with it, right? And so invest in some sort of asset, some sort of growth, anything that you get to that next level. When I was younger, I really wish I invested some of my idle cash in education, because education, like what you guys are going through, it lets you take what is a very, very long learning period and shorten it. And I'm not talking about like traditional education or go pay a ton of money to some college, but like learning like what you guys are doing right now, learning from people that are just a little bit ahead of you, and that have the skills that you want, or understand something that you would like to understand. Go and find those people and invest in your education, your educational assets. Like you're investing in yourself. You're your biggest asset, right? Which is so powerful. Huge. And that a lot of times, like when you invest in yourself, if you go through stuff like this, you learn how to trade 9 to noon. Trade 9 to noon will do what? It will give you an income. It'll give you income. And like, so as you start to invest in yourself, in your education, it's one of like the best things you can start investing in like this. Now you'll start to generate income, right? And then you move into that second category of you have income with no expenses, which is super awesome. But obviously, like not too much here. You're probably younger if you don't have any expenses. And so alongside investing idle cash that you might have, I say probably the most important thing to do here is to just try things. And if you guys have gone through the How to Win Friends and Influence People masterclass, really powerful piece of education and content. There's amazing guarantees. It's the best thing ever. One of the huge concepts we get to, and it's not like a huge part of the overall thing just because there's so much content, but it's a big concept. It's like always trying things. And we go so deep into it. It's this idea that like you don't really like know. Like when I was growing up, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know I wanted to trade stocks all the time and invest in assets. I just didn't know. And so as you're younger and as you don't have any expenses, like this is the best time to experiment and try things and go. If you think something you might really like something, like just do it, right? Just do things, right? Because like this is the best time to experiment is when you're young. Like if something doesn't work out, no harm, no foul. But if something does work out, like you figure something that you love, like like when I figured out, I had this epiphany a year into investing that I like really love trading, like that'll change your whole life. So the reward here is so huge. So just invest a little bit of your time or whatever, and go and try things, and just freaking enjoy it, right? Because it's an amazing time. It's one of the best times to learn and grow, because so few people are investing in their education, especially when they're younger, and it sucks. And so like if you're at this point where like you're out there trying to figure out how to be more and do more and succeed more, like you're already ahead of so many people, and it's so powerful, and the impact you'll have is going to be huge the instant that you start to like just try things and apply and learn and grow, and you'll learn so much through experience and so much to just doing things, and if you combine that with investing in like education, you'll just have like this geometric growth curve and have so much success so quickly. It's so powerful. And so that's the goal, like when you're starting out, is to just freaking try things. And especially if you don't have any expenses, like it's just the best time. And then you can start to work towards moving into this next column. So this next column, you want to start to generate your income, right? And for some people that means getting a job, and especially at the beginning, maybe it does mean getting a job. My goal has always been to like be able to create income on demand and wealth whenever I desire. But at the beginning, especially if you haven't tried a whole lot of things, or maybe you have tried a whole lot of things, but none of them have been particularly valuable, like you could probably go out there, and I know like I could have probably done a couple of things I was doing and tried to like get a gig doing them, but I probably wouldn't have made minimum wage. And so for a lot of people, you're starting out at the bottom, and you don't have any expenses, especially like if you're younger, like just go out there and go. And I'll link one of my videos below on like my first minimum wage job, and like that experience now totally changed everything. But what's cool is like you get to this point, you start to have income. So you have some sort of work, you have some sort of job or something, but you don't have any expenses. So you're probably like a student or living with your parents or something like that, which is cool, right? So you got money coming in, and what's that mean? Well, that means now you can start to invest. Now I wish I knew this years and years ago when I started working, because if I had started investing like just passively in like the basic market indices when I was working, I would have had so much more money. And what's cool is I want you guys to understand this mentality. Like you could be working a job, maybe get like what I got paid $7.25 for a super long time, minimum wage, at least where I lived. And I go and I could take, maybe I get like a couple grand from work, and in a couple of months, and you get this money, maybe this is like whatever, right? You take this, you invest in, and you get you start to grow your money, grow your wealth. And now what? You get to like $4,000, you get to $5,000, you grow. And as you grow, all of a sudden what's cool is like, because you're investing your time in learning how to grow this money, like all of a sudden, what happens? Instead of getting paid, minimum wage, all of a sudden strike that out, you just say you double your money, right? Just for easier math. Like now, instead of getting paid minimum wage, you're getting paid, $14.50 an hour, right? So you basically, you can sort of like double your income just by focusing on assets and understanding how to invest really, really well to have that growth, right? And so don't think about stuff as like crap wages or poor performance, because what's cool is like once you understand how to multiply your money, all of a sudden you basically like become your own boss, your own leader, and you can determine your own future, and you can take your life and your income and your financial future into your own hands, and you have control of that growth, and you're able to like fundamentally change everything, right? Because like you can do whatever you want. And once you get to a certain point, you start to get really, really good at investing. You can kind of do what I did, just quit your job and just trade and crush it. And so people, they just like trade all the time, work like a couple hours a day, and they're making significantly more than the vast majority of people working like traditional jobs, which is freaking awesome. And so the goal, like when you start to have work, is that while you're working, you have this passive investment. So this growth right here, this should maybe take like what, an hour a month, an hour a year to manage, and we'll get into those management strategies over time. And it's all in the book. But like this takes no time. A very, very, very minimal amount of time, as long as like you're just investing like long term in the markets, and you understand like the growth curve, right? And you understand the foundation of like indices, stuff like that. And obviously like no guarantees, right? It's like all marketplaces, right? Because of that, like you can work all the freaking time, and as long as you just set up the systems that you're gonna learn, so deep on like how to multiply your money, then you can grow your wealth passively, right? And it doesn't take anything. You're just hands off. And this is how a lot of people are. This is what some people do for their entire lives. They just work, and they invest in the background, and they don't really care about the returns, so they give it off to a money manager or some crap like that. And some of them do really well, some of them not as well, and they just grow their money passively, right? Which is super, super, super cool. It lets them focus on what they love, focus on what they went to school for or studied, or what they're passionate about, and they just let somebody else deal with it. And so many people, they just let other people do with their finances. And so the goal here, right, is to be able to multiply your money faster than most people by like leveraging outperforming returns and outperforming assets. Because like you get to the point where like you can make more money with assets than you could ever make in your job. It frees you up to do what you really, really love. Maybe if that is work, then you can stick with it, but you can also move into doing what you're super, super passionate about, what you actually care about, which is just super, super, super powerful. And so that's the goal. Like if you have income but no expenses, I kind of want you to sort of ignore the budget that we're about to go over. And instead I want you to adapt something that I sort of developed over the course of a couple of years after I realized the power of investments. And it's the 90-10. Because most people that are in this group right here, they're in income but no expenses. They're young. And when you're young, it's like literally the best time to invest. And you guys have read like chapter 3 or 4 or 5 of the book. You understand the insane power of investing when you're young and having huge growth as you grow up. And what most people do when they're young is they have a job or something and they spend 90% of their money on like total crap they just don't need, like clothes that aren't going to matter in a decade. Or just like junk, or it's crap, right? And so my goal here, right, is like to have a lifelong growth and wealth. And like what you do at the beginning is freaking huge, and it'll have such a huge impact. And also, just by starting to invest, you're going to learn so much, and that's going to be an educational asset in your mind that will stick with you for the rest of your life. When you're young, if you have income but you have no expenses, I want you to invest 90%, and then spend or do whatever the heck you want to do with that 10%. And it's important, you have fun, you're working probably so that you can have spending money or do things or get what you want in life or whatever. And what's cool is like if you have no expenses and you get an $800 paycheck, like that's $80 that you can go and just do whatever you want with, right? But then that other 720, that 90% is going to get invested into your financial future, which is so powerful, and it will literally build like your entire future. And some of the best ways to do this is to use like a Roth, and so we'll get into that. It's all in the book, but we'll get sort of deeper into that as this training and this coaching goes on. But just start investing in assets, because like once you start investing and start taking that action, like everything changes and you'll learn so much faster than if you just sat there and didn't invest, right? And so that's why, like in this learning stage, we're going to learn really, really quickly, so you can go and you can start to do that investment. And as you start to learn and learn and learn, like feel free to start putting your money into like low risk assets that we learn about together. Because like the moment that you start taking action, you're going to learn like 10 times faster than I could ever communicate to you through any sort of medium, even like in person, you know? Like I'll have like live seminars and people are like, what's the best thing I can do right now? And I'm like, dude, just start investing, because it changes everything. It's so powerful. Definitely want to follow this 90-10. And it might sound tough, but like, and if you have that one thing that you really want, I know my dad was in high school, like he really wanted to buy this Corvette or this motorcycle or stuff like that. And eventually he got this huge Corvette. It was the freaking nice thing ever for him. So my grandpa, and they bought these huge big ticket items. That like we're talking tons of money. I'm like, what I want you to understand is like, if you just invest that crap in the market for some time, sizable amount of time, like you can get yourself a Bentley, you get yourself a Rolls Royce, you get a Lambo, whatever you want, because in the future it's worth so much more than it's worth right now. If you just invest it in assets, which is so powerful, and that's the whole mentality behind the book and everything. And so you wanna like definitely enjoy yourself with that 10%. I remember some of the most fun technological things I ever got, and all the cool things I have in my life. Like they all come from that 10% that I spent. It's awesome. You go out with friends. It's great to have that money. That's why you work, right? Presumably, if you don't have any expenses. But for that other 90%, you want to invest it because it's going to grow so much more in the future, and you're also going to learn so much just by starting to invest, and it totally changes everything. It's so powerful. Definitely going to follow that. Invest like as much as you can, but still enjoy yourself. So 90% I found was a sweet spot if you have no expenses whatsoever. Now we're going to move over to the secret, budget, the strategy, whatever you want to call it. Secret percent allocations, and this budget, I mean, I learned about it and I was like, holy crap, this is genius. I could not believe it when I learned about it at this seminar and at this event, at this mastermind, and the guy who shared it was just freaking insane. I couldn't believe it, because what it does is it lets you stand back and say, does my money own me, or do I own my money, right? Am I the master of my money, or is my money the master of me? And the goal, right, is that you are the master of your money. And the way to become the master of your money is to plan, and to have like this system that everything goes through, which is so cool, right? And so this budget, it starts to just like, seriously, like this is a video, this is a module that like you could totally ignore and it would have no value to you whatsoever. And like, we're not going to come back to the basics. Like, we're going to cover stuff and we're going to go fast. We're going to go hard, because like if I tell you guys to do something, like you need to just like do it, okay? And so like hopefully you're watching these courses and this content like somewhere where you're in a position to go and freaking do things. And hopefully you're not just like sitting on the subway. And I listen to some courses on the bus sometimes and some content on the bus. But like make sure that like with stuff like this that's going to have a huge impact, like especially when I pay for courses and I pay a lot of money for courses, like I'm gonna take that crap seriously. And go through it, at the computer, and ready to implement anything that I learn. And so I want you to have that same mentality. Like if I tell you to do something, like just do it, because if you don't do it now, the chances of you ever doing it is so much less. Now obviously some stuff like that Jim Rohn homework and like listening to that and going through those courses like that you can do on the go, right? But always like be ready to take notes and stuff like that. But if you're like listening to it in your car ride or something, like that's totally cool. And that's what I did too. So I would like go and I would walk the dog every morning, and while I was walking the dog I would listen to this personal development stuff, and I would try to learn, go through so much stuff. And so like for passive learning, that's cool. This is like active implementation learning. What I'm about to share with you, like if you apply this, it will literally change all of your finances for the rest of your life. And it's so powerful. And so like you definitely want to be applying this as we go through it. And freaking take action and do it, because that's how you're gonna have the impact, that's how you're gonna have the success that you desire in your life by following this really cool plan. So with that said, I hope you guys are pumped, hope you guys are excited to start learning this, because it is super cool and super powerful, and I just cannot wait to get through it. So With that said, let's start going. We're gonna break everything down, so obviously everything's gonna add up to 100% of your money, and this is like after taxes, right? So most of you guys, if you have like a W-2, maybe you've got your taxes withheld, and then you get like a refund or something, or some of you guys, if you have your own business or do your own thing, maybe you're gonna get a huge tax bill at the end of the year. Like for me, I know I'm gonna get a huge tax bill at the end of the year because of like capital gains taxes, and I'm not a huge fan of like withholding, because like that's money that I could have invested in assets, and especially with capital gains, like it's not like a risk, right? Because like if you accidentally lose a bunch of money at the end of the year, like it's gonna cancel out the previous gains, and so you're not gonna pay those taxes, which is cool. And we'll get into more like tax stuff later. It's not a huge deal, but that's just like an idea that like you want to make sure that you're able to pay your taxes. So this is all like, everything here is post-tax, so just sort of understand if you're working a job, you sort of know how much you pay in taxes, just because usually they'll withhold it. And if you're trading or you're doing something where you're like generating your own income, no matter where you live, you just want to make sure that like you understand sort of what your post-tax income is, because all of this is based on like after-tax dollars. So just sort of make sure you're planning effectively, and you understand that, hey, I'm gonna have to pay capital gains at the end of the year, I'm gonna pay corporate taxes or stuff like that. You'll get much better at over time. Just sort of like get a baseline, understand, based on your history of having, income, what does your taxes look like, and what's your what's your take-home pay, right? And so this is all based on take-home pay. And obviously, like if you're trading all the time, like trading, it's not the same. You don't get paid like on a salary. So if you're doing something where you're giving like direct value to the marketplace and you're like selling things, then you can just sort of estimate this on the fly month by month as you sort of figure out how much you're going to pay in taxes, and then you figure out what your net is going to be after taxes at the end of the year, because you want to sort of plan throughout the year, so when you get to the end of the year, it's not like some huge surprise and you're not like, oh crap, I have no money, how am I going to pay all these taxes? Because the worst thing that can happen is that you have to like sell some investments to pay for taxes, because they had investments that would have like literally grown in value over time. You have to like get rid of just so that you can cover some dumb bill, and you just don't want that to happen. And that's why I talk so much about like tax avoidance and minimizing your taxes, and we'll start to develop that over time. It's in the book, and it's going to be in this training, and it's going to be that tax masterclass. Oh, you guys will see that later. Next week you'll start to understand some of the planning that we're going to go through, which is super, super cool, and definitely really hyped for next week because it's going to be awesome. But let's break down this budget first, because it is so powerful. And the instant that you master it, like everything changes. So again, this is like take-home pay after tax dollars. So yeah, first 10% goes to like the most important thing. And if you guys have been listening to Jim Ron, you guys know this. It's this idea that like you want to build a golden goose in your life. You want to build up this golden goose that's going to lay eggs day after day, month after month, year after year for the rest of your life. And you want to have this portfolio that will pay dividends for the rest of your life just by like accumulating assets. So 10% goes to your financial freedom fund. And this is going to be, the money to invest. Not spend, it's not for the kids to spend, it's not for anybody to spend. This is like your nest egg, your golden goose, and it's gonna literally like pay dividends for the rest of your life, for the rest of your kids' lives. Donald Trump, he owns buildings in New York that have like 1,000-year leases, and so like that's part of his like financial freedom fund, right? Like those are assets that are literally going to pay for the rest of his life, the rest of his kids' life, his grandkids' life. Like these should be assets that will pay dividends for forever, right? So 10% goes into investing in assets. Very, very, very powerful, like long-term assets and quality growth. Then we have another 10%, and this goes into long-term savings. And so this is sort of cash that you will put in like a bank account, and it'll just sit, and we'll talk sort of next week about like finding the right investment bank accounts and getting the most out of your money while it's just sitting in cash. We talk about it in the book, but I really want to give you guys like that immediately actionable next step to take. And so we'll get to that next week. The goal here is to get this percent allocation down. 10% long-term savings. So you're gonna have about 5% go towards like trips, cars, electronics, furniture, having a huge party, skiing, your home, stuff like that. So like if you wanna, accrue a ton of money so that you can go and you can buy that car, or you can buy that iPad or whatever it is that you want. Like, you deserve to have what you want. Like, these big ticket items, like, they should be in your life, right? And you deserve. And so as you're working, like, you want to have these long-term savings that grow and grow and grow, so that, like, you don't feel guilty when you go out there and you buy that giant TV, or you buy that super expensive couch or whatever, right? Because, like, you deserve, at a certain point, like, if you can save and save and save, like, you deserve to take that trip. And so often, like, we have trouble spending and trouble, releasing money because we spend so much time accumulating and it's so difficult. But, like, the point of everything, right, is to enjoy it, right? And so that's why you have this 5% here, where you spend it on these, like, big ticket purchases, and these things that are gonna make you, like, ridiculously happy. Like, you get a new car and you pay, like, all cash for it, and it makes you super, super happy. Like, how cool would that be, right? And it all comes from this fund that you're gonna build up over time. And a lot of people, they ask me, should I, like, lease my car or get a mortgage on my home? And a lot of times it just kind of depends. There is so much in, and we'll sort of talk about the home thing a lot more later, because that's sort of like a bigger thing. But you just want to look at, like, the interest rate. So if the interest rates are like 8%, like, usually that's going to be kind of garbage, because 8% is a pretty average market return, and you don't want to be paying that out to get debt. And similarly, that could be invested, right? And so most of the time this is like cash purchases. You're not going to, like, finance your trip, your vacation on a credit card and then use this 5% to pay down the balance. That's not the goal, right? That's a bad use of debt. You want to use debt to make you money, not to, like, be a consumer. And there's, like, a whole chapter on debt in the book. Highly recommend it. I think it's like chapter 14, and talk about this concept of using debt to make you money, not debt to, like, fuel consumer spending and just buy things that you want. Like, none of this is debt. This is all cash, right? This is, like, your money. And so you're gonna have what, like 5% of your after-tax pay should go to this fund that's going to be like your long-term savings. This is what you deserve. This is what you want to spend your money on. You want to have a huge party. It's like your big ticket item fund that's going to make you super happy when you finally get enough in here to go out and buy that new laptop. I remember I finally got enough to buy this laptop in this fund, and it made me so happy. It was like one of the best days ever. I was super excited, and it was just amazing. And so this should be like you're super happy. Like, this is my goal. This is what I really want to buy. And I know it's not going to make me any money. I know it's just for fun, or it's just for me. But, like, how cool would it be? To have that trip or to have that vacation. It's just like, this is for you. And so that's like that 5% long-term savings. And then the other 5% is just a contingency fund, an emergency fund. And so this is like a game changer, and everybody knows, you gotta have an emergency fund. But, like, you definitely want to have, like, this 5% of your money put into, like, a contingency fund, where you're gonna have, like, this focused 5% of your cash, just in case like, fall off your bike, hit your head, need to go to the emergency room. It's gonna come out of this, like, 5% fund. It's gonna keep and you're still gonna, like, have interest coming into these accounts that are just cash, by using some of those special investment institutions that we'll get to next week. But, like, this is super important just in case you have an emergency. Like, you want to have an emergency fund, but you don't want to put, like, all your money in an emergency fund, because, again, it's just an emergency fund, right? And so just do 5% in here, 5% of your take-home pay gets put into this emergency fund, and it'll totally game changer. Anytime something bad happens, you're going to have this 5%, which is super powerful. And as it grows, it'll give you this huge financial cushion, where you could, like, literally be out of work for months and months, and you know that you'll be okay because you have this emergency fund, and you have that time. You're like able to buy time, right? You can buy your stuff. Like, you're going to be able to survive and live if something wrong happens that cuts off your income. Like, you'll be okay. You'll have this emergency fund, and you'll be able to survive and thrive, right? Just a fundamental key to all financial planning is sort of just have an emergency fund. It's important. Probably like one of the basic things you came in here knowing. But a lot of people, they put too much of their focus on this. They put like 20% of their money in an emergency fund, and then they forego investing in assets that actually grow in value. And so, like, you don't want to have too much of your focus here. So again, that's why we stick 5% emergency fund and then 5% long-term big tickets saving. So yeah, all right, 10%, next 10%. So this is so huge. And, like, I wish I had this a long time ago, because I never really got this point until I went to this huge mastermind. And this would have changed everything for me because, again, like education, so powerful. 10% goes to education, not for your kids. It goes to education for you. This can be like courses, like it just doesn't matter, because no matter what you do, if you ignore education, like if you think education is expensive, like you've got to try ignorance, because like this is so important. This is money to invest in yourself, and it's so powerful. Like learn skills, learn trades, learn whatever it is that you want to get you to that next level. This is kind of what you're doing right now by going through this course and consuming educational content. You just constantly sort of want to be learning, right? You look at some of like the top people on the planet, and they're always reading. Like me, like I'm always reading. I have stacks and stacks and stacks of books. And like Bill Gates, like the most successful people on the planet, they're literally carrying bags of books around with them. So education for you can be like books. This can be courses. This can be masterminds, seminars, anything that it's going to be an investment in yourself, and an investment in your education, personal growth, reflection. Like you want to always be investing in yourself, because more so than any kind of asset or investment that you can make, an education in yourself, an investment in your education will have like those highest returns, especially as you're starting out. When you invest in your education, you're really going to see some of the greatest returns possible. And this has been true for me ever since I started investing in like building an online business asset, which is something we'll get to so much later into this area. But like investments in yourself and investments in your education are like the key to that growth, and they're so powerful. And so you want to allocate 10% to make investments in yourself and in your education to grow your earning capacity, because maybe you're making a couple hundred, or whatever you're making right now. You take what you're making, right? And say instead of investing in yourself, you just put it all into investments, and you start investing 20%. And so first year, you get 20% of X, and then the next year you get 20% of X. And over time, obviously, this is going to compound, and it's going to grow, and it's going to grow, and it's going to grow. But in the end, what you've put in is what, like 0.6X after 3 years. Versus investing in education that allows you to make more money. So at the beginning, you put in 10% of X, but the education that you have allows you to increase your income, say, by 50%. So the next year, you put in 1.5X, and then you continue to increase in your education, and say it allows you to increase your earnings capacity, your value to the marketplace by another 50%. So the next year, it's 0.2, and then you add 7.5, so 225. And so over time, right, you're going to be able to grow your income, right? This is like an education that will grow your income. And as you expand, like at the beginning, you're investing in yourself, right? You're sort of like this bamboo where you're putting in the time, you're putting in the effort. And then over time, as you grow and you grow and you grow, it's so crazy, because like you get to this really cool point where you start to break even with the traditional curve. And what's so awesome is that like the wealthiest people on this planet are the ones that are able to forego income at the beginning and invest in themselves and their education, and then have huge amounts of long-term growth. And so like as you go through this curve, like at the beginning, it might be a little bit slower than if you're just investing straight into assets. But then you start to grow and you grow and you grow, and you acquire these skills that allow you to make significantly more than most people. All of a sudden, all the work at the beginning pays off, and your long-term growth is so much greater. And so that's why it's so important, like especially when you're starting out, to invest this money in your education and in yourself by building this knowledgeable asset that will literally pay dividends for the rest of your life and allow you to vastly outperform those individuals who just don't invest in their education, which is so powerful. And it's huge. I wish, when I was younger, I started investing in education earlier, because it would have allowed me to like shortcut this just like what you're doing, right? Where you're shortcutting the amount of time it takes you to learn something. There was just nothing for me to buy. There were no people teaching quality financial education, which sucks. But I had to go through the whole process on my own. If I could have invested in my education, like holy crap, like that would have been a godsend, because the impact it has lasts a lifetime, and it is a total and complete game changer. For everything. So, I mean, you guys have started to get a taste of it. Like, you're investing in this course, you're investing in this members area, this book, and like it's just a book, but like books can change your life. Like I said a long time ago, I read these two books, Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I've sort of, built courses on it, and you guys have all seen that stuff. But those books changed my life. And why? Because I just took a little bit of my income and I invested it in education in myself. Like these, they're like what, $10 books, $15, $20 books. Like they're super cheap. I think some of them are even cheaper because they're so like mass produced. And like these books have so much knowledge in them. They would have taken like literally these guys, Napoleon Hill, spent 25 years writing Think and Grow Rich. Dale Carnegie literally spent his whole life uncovering the secrets of how to win friends and influence people. And you can get literally an entire person's life in a book, which is so powerful. And just think about what you can get like a course and a seminar and a mastermind. It's total game changer. And so that's why it's just so powerful to have this percent of your income that goes into a fund to invest in you. So next was 55%. And this is kind of what you guys probably expect. So this is like necessities, right? Necessities. So this is stuff like, food, water, utilities, rent, just like the things that you need to, live. These are just as necessities. And if you're at a point where like, maybe this is also like insurance, it's kind of important. I would recommend that you stay, protected. Transportation, gas, like anything you can think of, transportation, like to get to work or to get to wherever you need to go, transportation, gas money, just the foundation necessities, anything that is like like just the basics, right? The stuff that like you need to survive, or like if you didn't have it, it would really suck to live without toilet paper, or without insurance, or without transportation. I remember, I'm at tech right now, and a little bit ago when I started, I was like always running everywhere, and it was like so tough because I would like be sprinting everywhere, and it took me forever to get to like wherever I needed to go because I was always like panting. And like running's awesome, right? But it's not necessarily like the fastest way to get everywhere. Most people aren't ridiculously crazy and stupid and are running everywhere. And most people just walk places, and so it costs them a whole lot of time. And so if you can get like a bike or some sort of transportation that lets you get places faster and be more productive, like that's going to increase your output in the marketplace, it's going to increase the results you create, and thereby increase the amount of value you create, the amount of wealth that you bring home, right? So these are just necessities. And if you like are struggling to budget down and to really cut those expenses that don't matter, and maybe you just have too much crap, like the only way, like this is a set and a hard number, like it's 55%. And there's two sizes. The first side is you don't have enough, or you think you don't have enough, and the second side is you're in abundance. And what's interesting is like if you look at people that are living, in city, or they are living in apartments, and their rent's like $1,000 a month versus someone who has $2,000 a month rent or something like that. And people that are customarily used to living on maybe $1,000 or $2,000 a month. And you ask them, hey, how much does it cost to live in the city? Like they're gonna tell you, oh, we spend $1,500 a month. It costs $1,500 a month to live in the city, no more, no less. That's how much it costs. That's the cheapest that we can live. Versus asking someone that maybe lives on $2,500 a month. You ask them, hey, how much does it cost to live in the city? They're gonna say, oh, $2,500 a month, no more, no less. That's the cheapest it is you can live. And so how is it that these two people live on totally different budgets? And the reason is that you can get whatever you want. You can make the most out of however much money you have and the income that you have. And so if you're in this camp where like you're thinking, how am I going to live on 55% of what I take home? Like, don't focus on the negatives. Focus on, okay, what can I do? All right, next step. How can I cut stuff? Doesn't matter. And how can I live on this stuff? And similarly, if you're living in an abundance and you have way more than you need at 55%, think like, oh, dude, this is awesome, right? Like I'm gonna be able to maybe take that extra money and invest it, or maybe take that extra money, just go out and have parties all the time, eat out, have fun, because this is like 55% for you, right? Like this is the necessities. And my goal is not to budget you down so that you, because so many people, they're like, eat mac and cheese like all the time and have peanut butter and jellies. And like, sure, dude, okay, it makes sense. Like if you have no money and you have to eat peanut butter and jellies every single day, like that kind of sucks, but like if that's where you're at, that's okay. That's totally cool. My goal, right, is like take you through this process and help you understand like the 9 to noon secrets, is to allow you to increase your income. And so that's really the best way if you're struggling to meet this 55% here, is to just increase your income so that you have more money and thereby you're able to cover all your necessities and maybe a little bit of luxuries that you desire, right? And so that's like the huge part here, is to like increase your income or decrease your expenses. You need to live on 55% of what you take home, just like the bare necessities, the foundation, like just the basics. And sometimes maybe it means you have to get a roommate, or you have to, downsize or whatever, eat out less or whatever. But you just need to keep the foundation and focus on like the big things, right? Like don't focus on like saving like 10 cents on this brand of cheese at the store, or 50 cents on milk. Focus on like the 20% of things that are gonna give you the 80% of the results that you desire, right? So like how can I cut, my rental or my living expenses by like, hundreds of dollars, instead of focusing on like being cheap and spending hours and hours clipping coupons just to save a couple of dollars. Like that's not the goal. The goal, right? And obviously, like if you see coupons or you get a cool deal, like sure, right, go ahead with it. But like with necessities, you want to focus on the big things, and just find a way, make it happen. And live on 55% of that take home after tax. So that's like the bulk of it, because you need money to live, and so this is where you're living, right? And then 10%. This is the 10% that's super fun. This is the play fund, right? And so this is gonna just be like berserk, whatever you want, like Netflix. If you want to go out and you want to buy like a watch, get some cool watches, like whatever the heck that you want. Like this is your inner child. You want to go buy like a bunch of junk food, have a huge party. I'm a huge fan of indoor skydiving, so I might do like indoor skydiving. Whatever you're passionate about, that like it's just for fun, and it's just like something that you can do that's just kind of like a really fun thing to do one day, and just have a ton of fun. Like what you like to do as a kid, what you like to do, just like it makes you so happy to do it. Go golf, whatever. You like sports. You want to go buy a new tennis racket, buy new running shoes. Whatever like would make you super happy. Like what's cool is that like you have this 10%, and it is allocated exclusively to you, right? And so like you don't have to feel guilty when you go out and you buy these things that would look ridiculously stupid in the short term, and be like, wow, you're wasting your money. Like, I'm not wasting my money. This huge like purse or whatever it is that you like. That you go out and you splurge and you enjoy yourself with this 10%, right? It's not more than 10%, and it's not 10% on debt. You're not using credit. Like this is your hard cash earned 10% take home pay, and you can spend it on whatever you want, right? It's not like you have to save up like with this long-term savings. You're not really saving up. This is just like sort of cheap stuff. You can kind of impulse buy, whatever you want. This is the play fun, and it's kind of the most exciting part. Where you just start to be able to enjoy yourself and sort of do, whatever you want with your money and with your income. And it's just for fun, and it's like what makes your life happy and what makes you like super excited to just wake up in the morning, because you're like, oh, yahoo, I'm gonna get to do this thing today, and it's gonna be so exciting. And it's because you've put in the work to create the income. You're rewarding yourself, right? You're having a good time. And this 10% is something that you spend, and you're totally happy with it, totally content, and it's going to significantly increase your quality of life, which is so important, right? Like, what's the point of living if you're not going to enjoy it? And that's what this play fund is for. It's for that just those things that make you happy, and that are going to give you that growth. And so yeah, go out to the movies. Like that's not a necessity, but hey, it's pretty fun. We'll put it in the play fund, right? And so that's like the power of that one. Super huge, super cool. And then we've got, if we do some math here, we got 5% left. And this last 5%, so powerful. And it changes absolutely everything. I read this book a long time ago, Tony Robbins, called Money Master the Game. It totally changed my perspective on this. It's phenomenal. I can't recommend it enough. It's awesome. And this 5% is your give fund. So this is like charity. And this is just, it's so huge. You want to give, this is like money, or maybe if you're not in a situation to give money, like time, give your money, give your time to others, right? And to charities and to quality organizations. And this is this idea that like reciprocity, right? So like nobody does anything for no reason, and nobody, just gives away money. Like everyone has a reason they do things. And so what's super cool is like with law of reciprocity, like when you give your money, when you give your time, and when you're giving value out to the world. What's so awesome is that like this is gonna come back to you, right? So you give your money, you give your time to charity, and it's going to come back to you. It's gonna come back to you tenfold, right? It's gonna be multiplied. And so this charity, like not only are you gonna have a huge impact on people that are probably in need and that really need help, and whatever it is that you're passionate about, if you want to like save kids from human trafficking, you want to give water to villages in Africa, you want to feed the hungry, whatever you're passionate about, whatever your background is. Most people, they have like this background they come from. Like, great example, like really cool guy, read a ton of his books, Grant Cardone. Like, he is super passionate about like helping kids that don't have dads because he grew up without a dad. And so those are sort of like the charitable causes that he supports. And he has his own charity, does all this cool stuff. So figure out like, who do you care about? What charity are you passionate about? And you kind of see this baked into, the 9 new members there. I'm constantly asking you guys, what charity you guys want to donate to this month? And you should always have this percentage of what you make and of the take-home pay you have that goes to charity. Whether it be money, whether it be time, you dedicate a couple hours on the weekend. If you're into community service, stuff like that, like totally cool. We could do both, but just like you want to give out into the world, and that's gonna have like such a huge impact. Make you feel so amazing about yourself. Just give it a shot. It'll change absolutely everything. This could be sort of like sometimes if you're giving it to your church or if you're religious or whatever, or if you're just giving it to an organization, a nonprofit, a charity, right? And think long term, right? Because the instant you can like focus and you understand this whole system, like this is a long-term system for managing your wealth over time. And as you increase the amount of money you make, what are you doing? You're increasing the amount that you give. You're increasing the amount in your play fund. You're increasing the amount you can spend on necessity. You're increasing the amount you can spend on education. You're increasing the amount you can put into your long-term savings. You're increasing the amount you put into your financial freedom fund. And so over time, you start to make more and more money as you invest in your education, as you grow your wealth, and as you build real savings and retirements through quality investments in assets and financial markets. Like everything just grows and grows. And what's cool is like this budget grows with you, and it just is so powerful. And it is like the foundation and having this hugely successful life, hugely successful personal financing and budgeting, and it all comes down to this one formula. And it's just so powerful. So I want you guys to sort of ingrain this, study this, get this down, and think about it a little bit. This first week, start implementing it, start figuring out, how you're going to classify your spending and your investments. And for the next week we're going to break down like exactly how to do this and the fundamental steps and the next steps and the baselines, and how to actually get the stuff going and the top resources to make it happen and how to like physically, make it happen. Which is super powerful. But the goal right now, right, is to take this, and for the next week, I want you to start kind of classifying what it is that you're spending your money on and spending your time on, and focus on like understanding, taking a step back and saying, okay, I just bought this thing this week. This thing would go into my necessities fund. I just bought this thing this week. This thing would go into my play fund. And then I give you a little bit to charity. That would go into my charity fund. And just start to get a grasp on like mentally separating the purchases, the investments that you make, thinking, okay, I'm saving towards, this vacation I want this month or this week or whatever, this paycheck. Because this budget is so powerful, and it changes absolutely everything. It's just amazing and awesome. And it's so cool that you guys understand this now and you have this resource. And so please take the Jim Rohn content, go through it. Huge, a lot of information this week, but it is game changing. This stuff is something that literally, like, this budget is an asset that you can use for the rest of your life. So powerful. And now it's all here. It's all right here for you. And next week we'll start implementing it, and we'll start getting down the systems and practices to best implement it, which is super powerful. But for this week, it's all about getting this budgeting down, and starting that personal development with Jim Rohn, so that you can have the lifelong wealth growth that you desire. Because like what you plan and what you control and what you focus on, it will start to increase in value over time so much, and it's so powerful. And that's just the insane growth that we have here as we focus on this budget. So go over it once a week, however often you get paid, and figure out where your money's going and how you can allocate it in accordance to this fund, right? So that's the plan, that's the strat. Hope you guys got a ton of value from this. Go out there, apply it, crush it, and I will see you next week. This is going to be the last module for this week. Just make sure by the time you get to next week, you're going through some of those bonuses that came with the book, and then you're also going, kind of more importantly right now, through that gym run, and that's going to be sort of your homework assignment. Super cool stuff, guys. Go out there, crush it, and I will see you very, very soon. Thank you. Bye.